can do that from range, which feels pretty good, as the Gnar is going to be
a lot of pressure
picked up here by Bertle. And yeah, this is a bit of a classic top lane, one that we don't really need to talk about too much.
A lot of pressure on Bertle with this pick. If he had played something like a tank here instead, the Hanwha Life Esports example, right, where you go for a Scion or an Ornn top here to lock things down with your already insane set of engage. You've already got Sylas on your team comp. Can be very strong, but now Bertle is going to have to manage his Narbar. Top side becomes a lot stronger for Peanut because he's got a great target up here for the Maokai when you're already going to be pushed in very hard by the Varus Ashe, very likely down on the bottom side, where Wheeler is going to try to be shadowing over there. Peanut now has opportunities to gank this Gnar top side, and then you have really great early team fighting with Renekton, Azir's ultimate. And once he gets that online, the skirmish power of Gen G in the early game is very strong here before Sylas gets his Rod of Ages completed. So
yeah,
risky call on the Gnar, I think, opens up a lot of possibilities here for Gen G's early game.
I think it's going to depend on how much this Varus Ashe is going to be a problem for Gen G, because if it is, calls a lot of resources down there, then the Sylas gets to buy that time, and then if they get that time, Liv Sandbox's teamfight is so scary, it's absurd. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how this one is going to go, and I think so much hinges on, yes, the bottom lane, but also that mid lane matchup like you were talking about, Closer, his ability to carry on this Sylas, and Chovy being Chovy on the Azir and finding the team fights, because we've seen his Azir either be a mega carry or a farm machine. And you don't want a tractor. We need someone to play League of Legends.
Yeah, and there are, for the insane amount of single target damage for the side of Liv Sandbox, there are very few targets that you feel great about catching here. Even Peanut should be difficult to kill. Chovy and Pays will need to position well. Delight needs to play very safely because you get by a Sejuani ult, there is more follow-up than you could even imagine on the roster here of Liv Sandbox. So need to be careful with positioning and vision control.
Yep, this is very interesting drafts. Let's get onto the Rift and see how it goes. The more I think about it, Wolf, the more I feel like Liv Sandbox have really gotten a decent draft edge in this game.
I would give him like 55-45 here just because you have the Varus Ashe, right? And you know how strong that is. Sylas has been extremely difficult to deal with. And this is just the closer Aurelia power. Like that he can play this pick. It's his best pick historically when he first came into the scene, right? That was the one he was most famous for. And you have to ban that so Sylas goes through. Sylas is much more meta and arguably much more well-rounded.
Yeah.
It feels really terrible if you're Gen G. The Gnar pick is, though, where I'm like, okay, well, things could go wrong here. And it's also Gen G, right? These players are veterans. They have more experience. They are the stronger team. And so, yeah, we're talking about draft, but how draft execution comes into play here, I think, is important when we are talking about these 10 champions and how they interact with each other.
No, I agree. And I struggle to get on the dislike of the Gnar bandwagon because it's Bertle, and he has really struggled in these melee versus melee matchups. I think that having a champion that will just always be able to teamfight pretty well kind of makes sense for a player like Bertle, and it made sense for a player like Doran as well. Like, he has been one to do exactly this. They, of course, played together. Well, actually, no. That was a slightly different era, but Bertle was very recently on Gen G.
Yes. I mean, they basically, like, right before Doran.
Yeah.
In the Rascal era.
They high-fived the doorway as they went their separate ways.
Even still, obviously, there was definitely a lot of consideration between the two of them. You know, they were competing against each other at some point in terms of Gen G, how they're going to form their roster, how are they going to think about the next year.
Ooh, Delight doesn't find the grenade. They are actually standing their ground pretty well, though, here on the Gen G side. Yeah,
that turret placement was really good. You can block some of the Ashe W stuff with the turrets if you do it right, as Delight is trying to do here.
Yep. Kyle going to Hawkshot. Peanut, perfect timing there on that one.
This is another reason why this lane is so oppressive, is you can just always know where the jungler is or isn't, right, with this Ashe. If you know, if you find the jungler, that's amazing. If you don't find it, you know the jungler is not at a specific place, so you feel pretty good about that. You feel like you know when you can push really hard and when it's time to back away, because you also know where Wheeler is at all times. So you have a lot of power. Ashe just does too many things. Does a lot of damage, the slows, the utility, the ultimate, the vision.
She can be built multiple ways as well, although we only really see one here in the LCK. She is definitely very versatile. Will be an Umbral Glaive being picked up this time around, though, into the Mandate, which is how the support Ashes are put together in general. Just abusing 2 items that are extraordinarily strong. Sickle charging up, as we can see, and now Will is going to come on over and see whether he can get closer into this lane, because so far, things have been pretty difficult. See whether a dash chain is going to connect, and it does. Chovy has to flash before he even shifts the sands. Doesn't want to be interrupted there by Willa. Chain CC'd to death.
Yep. Willer has flash, he has to respect it. Will flash first, so it means Willer doesn't have to use his or anything like that to force it. I think it's the right call for Chovy. Feels frustrating though, where you're dominating the Sylas lane with this first strike. You're trying to get ahead because you know that Closer is racing towards as quickly as he can. That really annoying Rod of Aegis where Sylas becomes this side lane beast. And as much pressure as you can put on is what your goal is, but now you're limited by a really nice gank timing from Willer.
Yeah, it's really well played. Here towards the top side, we're watching Doran and Bertel hit each other with buttons that they have at their disposal. And that will continue for the majority of this game, and then one of them will win.
This is the power I was talking about.
All right, well, Twisted Advance and availability here as Gen G walk in, get a teleport, walk out.
Closer should be able to rush right back down mid. It's a teleport lost here, but the timing of this with his back is actually amazing, as he can just come down. Yeah, he lost some mana out of this, but he's actually not going to lose too much. And this means, like, this teleport and this reaction time here from Bertel, where he's got the lane position, means that Liv Sandbox absolutely knew this is where Peanut's going to play around in this draft with the Renekton. We're going to have the Ashe sitting down here bottom side with the Varus. It's not going to be about that. We're not going to push this one up. And if they gank, we just commit the teleport. They were so well prepared for this. And Closer now pushing the mid lane through. He gets back in, doesn't lose anything but some mana, really, like I said.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, Chovy still has that 5 CS gap, but that is no real different to how it was going in the early game anyway, as Willa is going to... okay, first Smite battle won by Willa. It's a Happy Penguin from Peanut as Delight gonna have to be healed. He flashes away. Envy's gonna pick up first blood. And Gen G already on the back foot.
Liv Sandbox, this team is so ready to pull the trigger, and all the time they're just setting up threats, and it feels like, oh man, there's this Gnar target up top side. Peanut goes for a gank. You get Closer's teleport, but he goes straight back in. He pushes a wave in. Now you're seeing Chovy utilize his, and the lane state is actually pretty good for Closer, considering he had to rescue his top laner with the TP. Liv Sandbox get that kill bottom side and get first Drake. The news doesn't really get better than this.
No, this is absolutely what you want as this composition, and honestly, my money's kind of on them if the game goes late as well. So, really cool stuff. Yeah, really beautiful sidestep, and as soon as you miss a grenade, the Heimerdinger really does not stand a chance.
Yeah, grenade miss, you don't have that many turrets set up to actually push the enemy team back, and it's Jhin. You know, if there's another AD carry that can trade back some of that damage on the Ashe, maybe you actually win that longer trade there with the heal, for example, and the turret setup, but not with a Jhin, who's sitting on no items, really. At this point, just some long swords he's picked up now after the back, and feeling really good right now about this draft for Liv Sandbox, and I think the Gen G coaching staff is probably talking about maybe we won't be giving the Ashe over again.
Yeah, maybe the Aurelia wasn't as important to Ben away. Because, of course, Chovy, immediately after Closer played the Aurelia, Chovy also did, and I believe won against Showmaker in that particular game.
Yeah, against the... He played it... No, actually, he played it against Bulldog, wasn't it? Or no, no, it was Zeka. Zeka's victor.
Got it.
Well, we eventually got there, but...
Yeah.
I remember that specific game where he just dunked on Zeka on the side with the Aurelia.
Yeah, and then Zeka tried it and struggled just a little bit. But they are tales of older games, as this volley is going to get blocked by a turret.
Yeah, he's using the turrets pretty well here, but it's still a losing war of attrition where, in a weird way, you're giving gold up for 2 the whole time.
And I think that the turrets cost a little bit more than that of a volley, and have a decent cooldown as well for each of those charges. As Gen G just forced to farm under turret over here, and that is the position you absolutely don't want to be against this combo. because they will just keep throwing arrows at you of
Yeah.
all different varieties.
And you don't go Comet in this lane because you know that Jin is never going to be able to compete with you attack speed-wise here in the early game. He can't do anything. Like, he shoots.
Yeah, you
based
just
on his
outrange
passive.
him completely.
You just Halo Blades him. You hit him repeatedly, and he has to back off under turret. He cannot compete. A lot of other lanes you go Comet in this for both players even. We've seen it, but not in this matchup. Where Heimer is also just going to get run down if he gets caught and slowed. There's no self-heal outside of his grenade.
Yeah. Well, Kyle going to come on over and help Envy secure this plate. Pays getting taken down to 50% as an arrow is just going to soar in there and collect a cleanse.
Willer's coming down now, too.
That is some cleanse timing right there, and I think Pays knows exactly what was on order, and so he's going to vacate the area immediately.
And all of our stats point to this moment, right? Early Drake for Liv Sandbox, Genji get Herald, but Liv Sandbox play around bottom side. Envy and Kyle picking up so much money here. Peanut leaving this lane out to dry. And it's really unfortunate, but I think it's the right call for Genji. If Peanut comes over here, it can be a disaster for him. It could go even worse. You lose that Herald power. And now you have to try to play around Doran on this Renekton once again.
Yeah.
And look at where Closer is. He's just shadowing the lane. He buys enough time. Willer comes up here. There's just no angle.
Oh, okay, here we go. Envy going to get caught out, trying to get the damage down onto Delight. The bullets are going to land as he gets into the brush, and the last one misses. So Envy is going to be able to walk away from this one.
And, you know, Kyle, always such a bro, man. He's trying to flash to block. It misses, but you know what? You have to respect that he's willing to take one for his AD carry.
You got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, not perfect. Like, if we're talking about, like, insane accuracies. Oh, under turret!
Okay, yeah, Emperor's Divide going to come through. The arrow was soaring by as well, as there's Chovy's version of the ult. But the permafrost is there, and Chovy's just dead. Closer locks down that kill.
Atlas week of upsets continues maybe here in the LCK.
0-6!
Ah! Oh, that was so unfortunate for Chovy. Pushed into turret there, super greedy, and then doesn't catch Willer with his ultimate. And Willer is able to come in there and take him out. Saves the flash at least, but no good news here for Genji across the map. Yeah, small CS lead in the solo lanes, but negligible compared to the advantages that Liv Sandbox now have. 30 seconds here to the Drake. Two bad Drakes, by the way. They've stacked, so it's going to be a good soul, chances are.
Yeah, this soul could be Infernal, a Mountain, a Hextech, a Cloud. All the best ones. Is, yep, Willer just not going to get hit by it.
Yeah, greed here from Chovy too, feeling like he's safe because he has his own ultimate to peel. Gets caught there, max range on the chains. And the cheers warranted here in the Liv Sandbox booth.
They are definitely not counting their chickens just yet, though, as you could hear as Delight. Going to get caught out. Okay, maybe it's time to start counting, as Nature's Grasp is going to come through. Pays fighting against Envy, but losing that battle. Chovy comes down, though, and Willer will be taken down. Closer is coming. And Genji will need to be very careful. This is not a battle that they can fight, as a Nature's Grasp is picked up via the hijack.
Yeah, so it's a trade of kills here, and Chovy picking up one is very nice, but it's also Avaris picking up a kill, and Pays, can he stay under turret? That's huge if he can.
All right, well, Chovy is just going to keep some vision here, as Envy's going to walk it on out, as Kyle going to get missed by the last one, but I think the Sand Soldiers and the Deadly Flourish are going to be enough to pick that one up. Peanut, happy birthday, mate. Grabs his first kill of the game.
Little bit greedy by Liv Sandbox here with Closer coming down. They felt like, okay, we could stay. We could force Pays away from this turret so he can't farm anymore. Meanwhile,
yeah, Doran's in a bit of trouble. Oh no, is this handbag Renekton?
Might be. He's got Narbar.
That is a flash. Nah, the crush is going to come in, but he gets flashed. Doran is going to find the slice and the dice. He wants the fight, but I don't know whether he really should, as the wallop is going to miss as well. My God.
Birdall has PTSD from the last time he tried to kill a Renekton under turret, and he is going to walk away. You guys have been watching that in the Mad Movie. Any hardcore LCK fans who watch the Mad Movie when it plays every other match?
Hey, that's against the Lord, okay? That is a different moment.
Yeah, but it feels similar, doesn't it? Where Birdall is trying to commit, doesn't get the kill. Great flash from Doran. It's a flash exchange. But Liv Sandbox, despite overextending bottom side there and a kill going over to Peanut here, they're still going to group up faster for this Drake. They still got Silas a lot of free farming. He's 2 stacks already on his Rod of Ages. Just running out of cooldown on this one. But, I mean, the Silas is accelerated. The Varus is accelerated.
Oh, Peanut is not so accelerated. Shirley is going to pop out as Peanut's going to flash the wall, but that is another snare to come in. Chovy looks for it. There's the Emperor's Divide. Closer getting taken down low. Chovy's the first to die, though. And Gen G, they don't have enough damage. They don't have enough people. There's no chance, and Peanut goes down. That is not the fight you wanted to take.
Yeah, Chovy with a really clutch ult there, but unfortunately, as you say, there's just not enough damage. This is all happening while Rift Herald crashes through, but Envy has FaZe under a turret here, and so it looks like a microcosm where Gen G is winning at first glance, but you see it's not, and good slice and dice out of there. And Gen G trade one for two and lose control of the map at the same time. Sure, some plate gold does go down with the crashing Herald, but this is a greedy drop that Live Sandbox punished, and Chovy actually has a great moment here. Good flash from Peanut to dodge the arrow, and then Chovy's like, I'm going in, but where's the rest of the damage? Delight and Peanut are far away, no turret set up here, and a lot of that W damage from Delight goes through, but it's just, unfortunately, a little bit too late.
Yeah, the damage is split as well, so 2 for 1, like you were talking about, the Silas does go down, but still, needs to be a little bit more follow-up, and Chovy has gone for a build that does damage, which I do very much enjoy. Leandri is going to be picked up here. Delight not going for the dash cannon build that we saw Life really, really loves, and has instead picked up the Rylai's, which has a heck of a lot of utility for
Kyle going for the faster mandate, actually, this game too. Not going for Umbreglaive first.
Oh, interesting. Just
saying, okay, I think I can go for this. It's going to allow me to empower my AD carry when Halo Blade's a little bit faster here in this game. So, pretty unique choice, but they have a lot of vision control already.
Yeah, the Umbreglaive, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, the Umbreglaive is great for if you're trying to play a comp that's oppressive and chasing, whereas Liv Sandbox said, nope, play for objectives. Sit back, let Heralds go. Look at the Drake control. They couldn't have more words around there if they tried.
Well, Shirley is going to be the focus here for Gen G. They're going to start this one off. Willa, let's see how that smite button's going, as a couple of turrets are going to dissuade him from getting on in here. There's a deadly flourish as well. The CC is certainly a big deal as it's secured by Peanut. Doran going to come in as well as the Nature's Grasp is now done with. We'll see what this Silas can get done as he misses the chains. There's a double Nardo, and first the Renekton is going to go down. The bullets are raining as a deadly flourish will connect, but there's no follow-up. Delight's going to go far too far forward, and the Silas picks up a double kill. And Gen G, I feel like this comp just doesn't have enough damage right now to follow up on all the CC options.
Yeah, it does not. I mean, they have the Leandris. We like that. We like that build choice. You know, the Ghost Blade here for FaZe, definitely not working out in terms of build so far here. Not that it's wrong. It's just not a lot of damage at this stage in time. And the angle for the curtain call for FaZe in that fight was kind of off a little bit because Gen G is actually pushed on so hard that he doesn't have the angle to hit the prio targets. He can only really hit the front line. So when FaZe kites back here and sets up this ultimate, you're going to see that it's a little bit disjointed. Delight also getting completely isolated here. And look at FaZe. He's missing here so much of the critical damage on the front line. He can only hit Envy really on this angle, and Bertle blocks the majority of that damage. So just not an effective ult. And Chovy's so low that even though he has a Leandris, he can't get that critical, effective finishing damage.
See whether it is going to be enough as this game goes on, because we know that even Jin will get a little bit more. And with so many squishy targets on this side as well, I mean, Bertle's not going to be building tanky stats for a while. The lethality will still work. But I think we're still looking at Chovy hitting those couple of items. Void Staff coming in next. By the looks of things, and he'll be a large portion of the coordinated damage. But they need to be in position so that there is a DPS player that can do damage after the CC happens.
And a lot of this is the vision game. We talked about this right before jumping into the Rift, is look at all the wards around this Drake that spawns in 25 seconds. They were there earlier too, and Live Sandbox just don't leave anything to chance. And because of this, Gen G are struggling to actually push towards a comp that can just chain CC like crazy and blow up a single target that's up trying to clear vision. And it's a Heimerdinger who's the support in this game. So very tough.
Well, there's a chance of corruption. Nature's Grasp is flying across both sides of the rift. It connects with Peanut. He is going to survive for the moment, but I don't think Doran is going to be so lucky. He gets healed, though, by the rest of his team. But Willa, he's in from the flank. The flash comes out from Doran here.
Chovy doing
Peanut's
so
still
much.
going home. Yeah, Chovy does a lot of work. But Gen.G still have to back away.
Yeah, they have to back away. Now, luckily, those two members of Gen.G survive, Peanut and Doran.
Oh, okay. Chains are going to connect here onto Delight, who has to flash to get out of the way of this one. Of course, sets up the turrets, and with that Rylai's, he's able to create a fair bit of space, but still, Chovy sort of by himself is dissuading them from doing this Drake.
If Peanut and Doran die there, you can't actually do this Drake as Gen.G, but they're running over, not even at full health, just rushing back to this Drake as soon as they feel like they have enough health to come over here.
Arrow, it's back off cooldown. Doran is going to find the flank onto Closer. Slices and dices, gets himself out, but now Liv Sandbox have got themselves grouped back up again. The Jin picks up the Drake. Peanut has flash available. He is not in too much danger right now, but they're not going in. They're going to take the Dragon and back away.
Gen.G's such a good team. The call to go back with Peanut and Doran instantly, come over at 60, 70% health, rush over the Drake while Chovy does an insane amount of damage, while the focal point is those two tanky targets. He does enough damage with his Leandries that he can actually, by himself, hold the Drake for long enough for Peanut and Doran to get back to the fight. Liv Sandbox low health bars can't really commit or contest, even though they're really spiking right now on this Sylas. This cannot actually force it to go. So Gen.G barely escaped disaster.
Oh dear.
Turn.
Well, Delight could be in trouble. Peanut's going to come on over. The arrow is going to miss, however, and there's the deadly flourish. And now I think they're starting to have the damage built up for themselves. Pays locks down that kill after the flash. You love to see it. I feel like they've worked it out, you know? They had a bit of a slow start, but now they're making the moves to finish off these kills and engagements.
Yeah, Liv Sandbox tunneling a little bit hard there on the Heimerdinger. I feel like that specific place on the map with the Heimerdinger has trapped so many teams this season.
True.
That one particular place.
For the Heimerdinger and against him, depending on who's
Kyle
watching.
has trapped people here. Beryl has trapped people here.
Beryl has trapped himself there.
Yes. This is just a choke point here that is controlled by Gen.G, and you've got so much CC like we've talked about here, but the damage is real and the range is insane. Bit of a mistake here, and I'm really sad we didn't actually go back and watch that team fight in the mid lane where Doran and Peanut almost died, because you could see illustrated how much pick potential this comp has, but also how the tanks have blocked so much of it, absorbed that damage, and Gen.G absolutely know their win conditions here in terms of how to front to back team fight this.
Yeah, but Closer has so much power in this game. Because Liv Sandbox, they not only have all of their really cool abilities, but they also have all of Gen.G's. And Emperor's Divide and Nature's Grasp are both game changers when it comes to ultimates. As Bertle taking a bit of damage here from Doran, but he's not too worried about it. Actually going to gnar him back again.
Willer's here.
Yeah, Willer's going to turn up, and so the teleport is going to be invested. Permafrost going to stop him. The arrow will connect, and all right, that is saying stay to the Crocodile. As Peanut taken down to half health. Envy a lot of damage now with these with the lethality built up. A couple of items now completed, Clips and the Ghost Blade.
It's like with the Heimerdinger turrets, they're able to save mid-turret, but it really looked like this was such a good macro play here from Liv Sandbox to try to collapse onto bottom lane. If you get the kill, you feel amazing. If you get a teleport, you can collapse then in onto the mid turret and take it out, but Delight was pre-set up with the turrets. They do save it. It feels like Gen.G is definitely one step behind in this game, but the damage on this Azir is becoming a problem. As you've said many times, Void Staff is done. The Jhin has so much agency now with the Maokai starting to get online now too, and this next team fight on this Drake in about 2 minutes time is going to be so critical, as once again Liv Sandbox have all their vision down there, playing around the potential Gen.G Baron. It's Leandri's on Azir. Not going to be likely at this stage, but you have to check, you have to identify, put some wards in that pit.
Yeah. And Gen.G do have all of that topside vision. It's so interesting, right? Because like you were talking about, the clear difference of focus between these two teams when it comes to each side of the map. Gen.G luckily have denied the soul point from Liv Sandbox, and in doing so, they've got 100% of the good Drakes, and Liv Sandbox have got the not so good moving towards the Drakes. Still, looking at the money, it's Peanut with a lead, but outside of that, everybody else is doing fantastically well on Liv Sandbox's side. And Arrow's going to connect. All right, Peanut may not be in the lead for much longer, as Twisted Advance to the side's going to get him out. Deadly Flourish misses. And yeah, like you were saying, Closer on the flank.
But now he's kind of caught and trapped here. He's going to have to force his way out, will be able to do so. They have a lot of vision around that Baron. They try to make a play here to catch Peanut right before this objective spawns in 35 seconds, but unsuccessful. And they keep hitting the tanks with this single target CC. And Peanut gets away, or Doran gets away, and then Genji are like, all right, now you use your tools and you're engaged. We have a ton of damage. A bit ambitious, I think, to hope for that flank angle.
Well, that's a big old bouncy grenade. Paze is very lucky to be able to walk out of the way of it as Deadly Flourish comes in. The double stun as Doran gets there as well, but it's just one extra auto. And the Varus is going to happily take down the turret. Bertle was looking for a flank angle, doesn't have a lot of Naba, and also doesn't have a lot to fight for here. Outside of the Drake that's spawning in 5 seconds time, I tell a lie.
There's no real critical ultimates here for Live Sandbox either outside of that Gnar to use for this fight. Ash Arrow and the Varus Chains of Corruption, but they're not in position for it.
Yeah, Hijack will be up very, very soon, as the arrow is going to connect onto Paze. He immediately uses the cleanse as Closer on the flank. Can Genji find a fight before he gets here, though? And the answer is no, as Paze going to flash to get out of the way of the chains. The Emperor's Divide going to be picked up. The Gnar is not massive, but the Emperor's Divide is! And Closer will tear them all up! He's going to bounce on top of the Renekton, goes golden beautifully, and Chovy is still alive. Can he get it done? Another Emperor's Divide! This time on the Genji side as he flashes out of the way of Envy, but Envy's going to have a flash of his own, and that is the ace for Live Sandbox.
Live Sandbox here losing a lot, though, not actually securing the Drake, and perhaps they can teleport back, or rather recall back and then grab Baron, but I just don't think they have the damage here, actually, so Birdall's just going to push bottom side, so Genji with a valiant fight regardless here. Drake going to go over to the side of Genji. Closer avoids this Nature's Grasp, is going to get all the way back here into the backline, and it looks doomed until Birdall gets on top of Genji here, and then Closer sets up the Emperor's Divide. Beautifully played, and Genji, luckily they secure the Drake, because if this is Drake going over to Live Sandbox and Soul Point, you feel awful about this. But at least you stop that one, and it seems unlikely they could take the Baron. We'll see what's happening in live, but I don't think they have the damage.
Yeah, not quite yet, I don't think, but we'll have to see. Of course, Genji had relatively long death timers, as Envy with the dab after taking down Chovy.
They're setting up for it.
Yeah, cool kids definitely don't panic. That was very cute, the twisted advance to avoid getting stunned by the arrow. Kyle is going to have that one back off cooldown in about 20 seconds, and he'll just throw another one. So you don't have to worry about that. 3-0-6 here for Envy.
Void
on this Varus is doing a lot of work.
Void Staff for Closer too.
Well, Peanut's going to do the same thing again. Twisted Advance Bramble Smash. Pretty good for disengage. And that works out, but they have a lot of wards to clear. They have a lot of ground to cover getting towards this Baron, but it is another do-si-do. We've got another set of jostling for position around this Baron.
Merc Tread's here for Peanut and Chovy, so these Varus arrows are still hitting pretty hard, even this late into the game. To be respectful of it.
Another arrow going to come through. Wallop is going to connect onto Doran, though, as there is a double Gnar into the wall. Peanut the target as Nature's Grasp comes down. I don't know whether they should be focusing the Maokai as Doran jumps over. They clear out the Gnar, and Closer, he hits the air because Chovy goes golden. Now Delight is trying to fight him. He's trying to be the hero as the Silas is not going to fall yet. The Emperor's Divide pushes him under another turret. What do you need to do to kill this man? It's insane. In the meantime, Paze is dead. It's a double kill as the arrow is going to pierce right through the knee of the Heimerdinger. And look at this, they cannot get to them.
They cannot. They cannot. Toby's Leandri's damage makes it so difficult to actually chase them down, but Envy's range is massive here, and with Paze down, you can just kind of kite back and do tons of damage, even without the on-hit variation here of the Varus. And it looks like another win here for Live Sandbox, albeit small. And the engage was so disjointed. Imagine if they'd been on the same page, because watch this again. Arrow goes wide, and Birdall's like, all right, I'm flashing in for this one. Doran's over here like, all right, well, now I can actually get into the enemy backline. So you see how Envy and Kyle kite back as he goes in. So this ends up being a huge mistake, and Closer's flank is completely destroyed because of it. He ends up just stealing the grenade and going down.
And in the meantime, Envy is just sitting in the back, killing people. Look, Delight is at a third health. Bye.
Yep.
He did the same thing to Paze, and if he wasn't there hitting those arrows, then it's 5 and there's another one. 6-0-6. I mean, Varus is huge.
The guy is primed for saving this game, as there have been some shaky engages from Birdall. Not everyone's been on the same page in terms of target selection, but there's no jungler for Gen G now for this Baron.
Well, there is a teleport, there is a dream, but I don't know how much hope there is as there are bullets flying towards Willa now. This Baron is still very healthy, but Doran, not so much. He's going to slice, dice, flash, try and get out, but the Nara is going to stop him, and Kyle will lock down the kill. Now Close is going to get Deadly Flourish. That's a lot of rockets in the shape of bees going into his back.
Baron is still very healthy. I think Gen G absolutely can contest with this. Leandri's on Chovy, and they actually kind of messed this one up, but it's the follow-up that you're, as Live Sandbox here, you either need to be so lightning fast on it, or you have to commit to the Baron harder, as Peanut gets caught by an arrow here and dies, and they pull the trigger instantly on the Baron call. Peanut buys a little bit of time here, but they have the choke point control. Look at how much control Live Sandbox have with this, and yet some of these shots still actually get into the backline, and Envy's so low from the Baron alone. And the one that we see the flash back here and Birdall goes through, you just can't chase this against the Leandri's damage, or you have to pull, well, you can either chase it and give Baron, or turn on Baron faster, but they kind of did neither. Is okay.
Well, here is the fight onto Closer as the Jhin almost just dies from being close to him. I think that's what happened. The arrow is going to be flashed as there's another big Gnar. Chovy's taken down the Ashe though, and there's the flash out from Willa. Closer, Deadly Flourish misses with Sandbox relatively low, and look at this. The Pigeon is coming in. Can he shift Sand enough in order to get over here and stop this? Conquering Sands comes in. There is Closer with the Zhonyas, and Chovy can have to do the same thing. Now in an awkward position, Doran is the one that picks up on it. Chovy, he goes down. Envy's going to get, oh, he flashes, and he gets out. Oh my goodness, this Varus is just insane right now, but
insane.
Genji are still alive.
Genji's still alive. Chovy goes down. That steal from Closer as well, getting the dominance at the last second, barely surviving. He actually being alive here is massive for the team. Could actually just go straight back to a side lane here. Unbelievable fight. It all starts off like this. Nuts. This is a crazy game. Who knew this was going to be the best series of the week? And Root comes down here onto Varus. Envy here very exposed right now. Kyle already taken out by Chovy at the beginning of this fight. And look at how well Live Sandbox kite this back and play this. As watch Closer, he's holding on to his hijack here. What am I going to take? Do I want to try to outplay Chovy here, or do I want to go for survivability? Perfect Zhonyas, goes for Doran here, grabs that extra survivability, and barely gets out his Envy. Perfect stopwatch here. Beautiful fight for Live Sandbox in a fight that looked frankly doomed. It looked completely doomed.
Yeah, and the Emperor's Divide was mistimed by Chovy as well. Maybe a little bit of panic. Given the fact that he was right in amongst like 4 people. And so had to kind of use it before he was guaranteed the hit onto the Varus.
I mean, Envy, he said, I want to change my reputation this season. It's changed.
Yeah, this game is doing it.
It's rewritten. The history is rewritten. You were always good.
If it wasn't already rewritten, it is now, is the way I'm thinking about it.
We'll have nothing but great things to say about your Ezreal and your Aphelios 2021, 2022. It's fine.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing that Samira again. I want to see that one back. Really, really excited about it.
They say history is written by the 708 Varus. That's the quote. That's what they say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a tattoo that I'm going to get later. As Closer might be in trouble. He is going to... okay, that's a lot of dividing by the Emperors being done here. As Chovy is going to get a very high value Zhonya's, avoids a lot of Freljordian ultimates. And Willa going to be put at a safe distance, but now Envy's moving in. He's got the Chains of Corruption. They miss. So never mind. We got back away. And there's the Deadly Flourish. Will we see the follow-up? The answer is yes, finally! They managed to kill the Varus. But is that going to be enough? Because that's a lot expended now on both sides. But Doran, is it the Crocodile's time to shine? Kyle going to get taken down. Gen G come alive. And it's just in time for Baron.
It seems like every single team fight that Live Sandbox loses, it's by tunneling on one specific zone where all of that AoE damage, all of the Leandri's damage comes through, as this could be a disaster for Birdall. So much damage here with the TP coming through.
Is Willa alive?
We'll find out.
Well, Closer is alive as well. This is such a scary moment. Gen G, please turn, for goodness sake. There it is. They pick up the Sejuani and take her down. Willa cannot smite from the grave. It's the hard counter to the Live Sandbox playstyle as they just do a bit of a drive-by, check it out, see the Baron going down. So Live Sandbox had to give it up.
I think Live Sandbox might have just lost this game off of a tunneling on this call here. Look at how quickly Gen G are rotating. Doran is already on his way up too. You have no Gnar here. And Closer, gets knocked away, gets out of the Pays ultimate, but it's a war of attrition. You are not going to win. Trophy Zonius dodges the arrow perfectly, and there's just so much damage. You don't have damage long-term ranged as Silas here. You go super low, and then Envy oversteps his bounds towards an Azir turret, and it's one flourish that may win this game for Gen G. He's dead. They cannot contest Baron anymore, and Gen G are now in full control. This is a great turn, too. Not messing this up as many other teams have against Willer. Delete him, then kill the Baron.
It's as simple as that, guys. If anyone's watching who is in the LCK, just turn off your Barons, kill the enemy jungler if he's in the area. It's a really good way of making sure that there is only one smite that's available to kill the Baron.
And just like that, it's like the lead has been trash compacted.
Yeah. we now need to start talking up Gen G, because that's when we'll get the turn once again. I think the caster curse has been a little bit absurd during this series, but I'm kind of all for it because I like the back and forth. It's kind of fun. Closer is going to find himself a sapling. The presents are in as Will is getting taken down very low, but Gen G going to prioritize taking down the turret, trying to get themselves further in the lead. 1 minute until Hextech Soul point for Gen G. Live Sandbox, if they can get there, Hextech Soul will be huge.
Kyle waiting for that arrow to come back up. If they can hit Chovy or Pays.
All right, H's Grasp to set up for these arrows. Never mind.
Bit of a waste here, unfortunately, but you know, it's still helping secure the zone here around these inhibitors for Gen G. Baron buff still up for 65 seconds. They're going to take a back timer here. Not going to commit any further with this pick comp for Live Sandbox on the other side to grabbing inhibs. So looks like Gen G get a gold lead from this, get control of the map temporarily, but it's actually Live Sandbox in the driver's seat, pushing now back towards the Soul for this Hextech as they push with the Varus in mid. And man, this might be the last fight of the game.
Yeah, I think it should be. 6th Elemental Drake. Could potentially be 7 if the game does go longer, but I think you might be right, Wolf, as Will is going to start it up. He backs away immediately. The rest of the team not into it. Oh my god, the Chains of Corruption, the Piercing Arrow. Chovy has to get out. Nature's Grasp flying through on the opposite side, and Chovy, he can't fight. He's still going to try to, but Closer will find him. And I think Closer will say goodnight to the game. It's a triple kill for the Silas. It is game over for Gen G. And we are just living in Live Sandbox land, I guess.
We are, and you know, I said they're second lowest combined champion kills right now. Well, let's add 35 in this game to where we're at. I think the stats are changing after this one. A 35-minute game, 35 kills.
Well, is it over yet? There's a... Never mind, there isn't a Renekton. Live Sandbox will close in. The double dabs to come through here from Live Sandbox as they trample Gen G in game number 1 in the very end. Gave them a Baron to let them feel like they're having a good time, and then snatched away the Nexus.
Cool kids never panic, Atlas. There were so many situations in this game where it looked hopeless, it looked doomed. They defend the push, and with the last minute of Baron, Gen G are like, we have to back and get set up for this, or not the Baron, rather the more important objective, the Hextech Soul. Gen G back off and go, we got to reset up for this. We got to get back into mid, push those lanes. They have great wave clear. If we mess around too much bomb side, try to get an inhibitor and fail, that's when the Ash Arrow comes out. That's when the pick comes out. And yet still, while they were trying to mess around mid, getting that pile for that Hextech Soul, they get caught in mid. Chovy and Peanut deleted instantly. And this team composition that Gen G gave to Live Sandbox is insanely strong when it has a lead. And yes, the leads went up and down in this game, but the Varus play was consistent throughout.
It was so good. Man, normally, I don't like the big boom lethality Varus POG votes, but if he doesn't get it for this one, I'll be really, really sad. Look at that blip. A little bit of a blip there. But Live Sandbox brought it back in the end.
I mean, everybody's a closer enjoyer, okay? I enjoy closer. Silas, you enjoy closer.